You're learning wrong if you don't know what your learning style is. Tell me if you relate to me. Observed how you and your friends learn quite differently. This happened to me yesterday when I was in a group study. It was absolute chaos. One friend of mine was in one corner reading aloud. Mitochondria is the power of the cell. Mitochondria is the power of the cell. Mitochondria is the power of the cell. One friend of mine was watching a video. Mitochondria is the power of the cell. Mitochondria is the power of the cell. And imagine I was trying to focus on my own learning when I had this cacophony of sounds around me. It was a dumpster fire. Everyone has different ways to learn. If I would have asked my first friend to watch that video and the second friend to start reading aloud, do you think they would have learned properly? I don't think so. Now, have you had this happen to you where you were asked to learn in one particular way, but that just doesn't work out for you? So today let's just do one activity. I'll help you identify your learning style, and depending upon your learning styles, let's build learning plans so that you're able to effectively clear out any exam and learn properly. Let's get going. Now, how will we do this activity? I'll just ask you 2 questions and give you some options. Depending upon the options you pick, we will assign a primary learning style. Mind you, you can select multiple options. Then once we have looked into your options, I'll ask you to go to a particular timestamp where you will get your learning plan. Of course, your primary learning style will be the first thing you should look at. But what if you're assigned more than one learning style? Your secondary learning styles are also showing up. You go and watch those parts as well, and then you can mix and match with your learning plans that I've given for both categories. So here are the questions. What's your primary method of learning at home? Is it reading a textbook, writing notes, watching tutorials on YouTube, or teaching imaginary real people, or working on models, figures, etc. hands-on? Have you selected your answer? Good, let's move on. If you're teaching someone, how would you mainly do it? Will you talk about the concept? Will you draw diagrams and figures? Will you use a slideshow filled with images, videos, and other animations? Or will you do all of the above at the same time? Pick your answer. Perfect. For your results, those who chose their first option A both the times, your primary learning style is reading and writing, whereas your secondary would be either visual or auditory. The ones who chose B both the time also fall under the reading and writing category, but your secondary learning style could either be visual or kinesthetic. People who chose C both the times fall under the audiovisual category, where either your primary is visual and your secondary is auditory, or vice versa. And people who chose option D both the times fall under the kinesthetic category, where your secondary learning style is either visual or auditory. Now, as I said, you could select multiple options, and if you find overlaps, say you've selected A and B both times, your primary and secondary learning styles have a mix of all of these. So as I said, if you chose A and B both the times, your primary is still reading and writing, but your secondary has visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. It is definitely possible, it is definitely okay for you to have that. Now that you know what you're supposed to look out for, what your primaries and secondaries are, check out the timestamp in the description and go to your relevant section where I'll be discussing your learning plan. Now, on to the categories. Reading and writing. You are the traditional learning style. Your strength lies in words. So we play with it strongly. Now take the reference of the LAT system. First, when you're learning, read and write as much as you can. Your note taking ability is the strongest, so you are going to make the most of it. Arrange your points according to this particular format that you have. First, you write the question. Secondly, you write your answer from your references from it. Thirdly, you write your understanding from that answer. Fourth, you write whatever doubt points you may have. And fifth, after you have clarified those doubt points, write your best answer. Your best answer should include points from your references, your textbooks, and your understanding. Make sure to highlight keywords here. This is going to be your learn phase. When you move into your apply phase, you solve questions. Make sure to analyze your questions before you solve and assess your answers after them. That will help you understand whether you have really caught on to the application part of your concept or not. Finally, with your test phase, what you do, you solve these questions once again, but with a timer. Because your test phase is going to be pretty much aligned to your exam of choice, plan your testing phase session in such a way where you're solving questions in a particular time limit that tests how well you're able to remember as well as apply concept in a stipulated time. This is how you can apply the LAT system within your reading and writing learning style. Of course, combine these particular steps with your secondary learning styles. If you need help in doing that, schedule a call with me today. Audio-visual. I've combined visual and auditory because they somewhat lie on the same spectrum of what senses that they use. Your strengths are your visual or auditory memory and mainly the expression of those memories. So we play with that. Look at the LAT system. How do we do with your learn phase? Make notes, but either incorporate diagrams or your understanding from certain audio bites. So if I were to imagine how this is going, I am say watching a video and there are certain diagrams that pop up. I draw those diagrams with my notes. I highlight some point that I've understood from those diagrams. Maybe I write down points to remember those diagrams. So that say if I'm trying to remember a concept, I can immediately have the diagram come into my mind and the concept clicks to me. That's what you do with your visual side of things. If you're an auditory learner, you listen, you write down your understanding while you're listening, and when you're trying to remember those concepts, get those points in your mind that help you remember what you have listened to, and hence your concept just clicks to you. For your apply phase, teach a class. Try and explain the concept that you are learning to either someone or to even thin air, that doesn't matter. But either incorporate slideshows or audio bites that you have used for yourself to learn those concepts. That's the important key over here. You use what guides and aids you have used to learn when you're teaching this class. That helps you understand how to apply these kind of concepts. Finally, with your test phase, it's similar to the previous group. You're going to be solving questions under a stipulated time. That tests how well you have understood concepts, how well you can remember them, and how quickly you can apply them. If you want more insights on this, if you want to see how you can apply this with your secondary learning styles, schedule a call with me today and I'll definitely help you out with it. See you next time. Kinesthetic. It's a very interesting learning style because it incorporates almost all learning styles and more. Your strength is in the ability to use all of your senses at the same time to learn. So we make the most of that. When you're learning in your learn phase, you explain the concept either to someone or to thin air. This is something I had recommended to the previous group for your apply phase, but here your learn as well as apply phase shows this. However, the difference between you and the previous group will be how you teach. Incorporate slideshows, audio bites, models, whatever. Keep it hands-on. I pretty much call it learning with your body. Have you seen those teachers who are overly expressive when they're teaching? It literally feels like they're dancing around the class trying to teach. Frankly, this is the best way a kinesthetic learner can learn because even if it looks stupid, each and every action, you might have seen me talk right now. Even though you can't see my hands move, you can barely see my fingers. But you see that I am trying to bring in some actions. I am moving around. Each and every movement, each and every action is assigned in your mind to a particular concept. So when you perform that action, that concept becomes clear to you. You're able to recall that concept. See, I just did an action right now. When you move into your apply phase, within your learn phase, I would have still allowed you to use your references while you're explaining the concept. Within your apply phase, you do not use your references at all. You try and remember the concept. You try remembering the concept and then putting it out. Your test phase will be similar to the rest. You will be solving questions under a stipulated time. Because we are here testing how quickly you can remember a concept, how quickly you can apply a concept. Do this under a stipulated time, and of course, analyze your questions before you solve, assess your questions after you solve. If you want to know how to incorporate your learning and apply phase with other secondary learning styles that you have, schedule a call with me today and I will definitely help you out with it. That's all for this video. Thank you and happy learning.